Plaintiff Pam Lynham-Dantzler met the defendant when she realized they were both dating the same man. Pam claims after they confronted the man at his house, he told the defendant to leave, and in retaliation, she vandalized Pam's car, so she's suing. Defendant Jacqueline Stinson says on the day in question, the only reason she went to her boyfriend's house was to get closure on their relationship. Jacqueline admits that while there, she had a run-in with Pam, but she insists she never did anything to Pam's vehicle.
Start with you.
Your Honor, I know the defendant because she was at my boyfriend's house on March 7th, 2014, sitting in front of his house as I pulled up. As I pulled up, she was blocking his driveway, so I couldn't go into his driveway. So I just parked behind her SUV.
That's not true, Your Honor.
What part isn't true?
I wasn't blocking his driveway.
Okay.
So I parked behind her. So as I got out of the car, I could see there was someone in the SUV in front of me, in her car. So I was assuming that she was either looking for an address or maybe on the telephone, so it was no big deal. So as I got out of the car, went to my back seat, she gets out of her car. And so as she was approaching me, I didn't feel threatened or anything because I could see she was an older lady. But then she started saying, Are you here for Mr. Lunningham? Are you here for Mr. Lunningham?
Older than me.
And I was like, whoa. You know, then she's like, do you know who I am? My name is Jackie. I've been his girlfriend for 10 years. And I'm like, wow, you know. She's like, well, who are you? So I said, my name is Pam. Well, how long have you been seeing Mr. Lunningham? 2.5 years, off and on. She's like, well, I'm gonna just tell you, you might wanna leave because this isn't gonna end well. So I was like, really? So we're walking down the driveway to his back door. She's rambling on.
Did you take her advice?
Apparently not. I should have, but I didn't. So we get to his back door. She knocks on the door. I'm standing on the ground behind her. He comes to the door, and I could see his expression was like,
I'm caught.
Right. So he opens the door. He says to her, "Didn't I tell you to leave?" And she's like, "I'm not going anywhere. You won't answer my phone calls. You won't text me back, return my texts. We need to talk." He's like, "There's nothing to talk about. Either you leave or I'm calling the police." She states, "Call the police," so he gets his phone
And what are you doing?
So I'm standing there, behind her.
Waiting on the shooting to break out.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I thought after the whole thing was over, Your Honor. Seriously.
After it's over, you should have went to the car like that woman said, and if you wanted to see what was gonna happen, get you some binoculars and look at it. And look at it through the window of that car, but go ahead.
Right,
you standing there.
In hindsight, Your Honor, I would leave the next time, okay?
All right.
So she turns to me as he's on the phone, and she's like, well.
You want some of this? What'd she say?
So she asked me if I would give her time to have a conversation with him. Mm-hmm. So I was like, sure, lady, I don't know you from a can of paint. This is clearly between you and him.
Good.
I have nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. So as I was trying to get around her to go into the house, she was like, "Oh no, you're not going in the house." So I stood back, because I'm thinking, okay, she might want to get jumpy. Let me, stand back.
That's not true.
So he gets off the phone. He tells her, "The police are on the way. You might want to leave." So it looks like a light bulb might have went off in her head. She realized the police were coming. So she left. So we went in the house. I asked him what was going on. He told me that she was an ex, that she just showed up unannounced, and that, he had told her to leave, that he was going out for the evening, so on. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay. So, we leave, walking down the driveway, look to my left, she's still sitting there in her SUV. At that point, the police are pulling up too at the time. Good. So he pulls the Jeep, his SUV back so I can get in the car. She jumps out. She's like, "Well, what is your last name? What's your last name?"
To you?
To me.
In front of the police?
In front of the police. So I said, "You don't need to know my last name,
She's gonna look you up now.
Yeah. So I get into the Jeep. The police walks up to the SUV and asks him, "Well, what do you want us to do? Want me to do?" He says, "I want her to leave." Mm-hmm. So I guess he goes up to her, asks her to leave.
Police.
The police.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes around us and goes to the intersection, to the corner of his block. So the police comes and she parks. So the police comes back to the SUV and he says, it looks like to me she's gonna follow you if you go past her. It's best if you turn around and go back the other direction, and if she comes to try to follow you, I'll block her.
This is the police saying
This is the police saying this. Yes.
Go ahead.
So we did just that. We turned around, went back northbound, and I'm looking behind me, behind me, to see what's going on. I look, this lady does a U-turn in the middle of the intersection to try to follow us. So the police is blocking the street, just like he said he would do, and she's trying to get around. So I'm thinking, oh my God, this lady is a woman scorned. Mm-hmm. Either if you're not still messing with her, she just bought you something recently or something. Because she's not acting like this for no reason. Mm-hmm. Maybe we shouldn't go because, this doesn't feel good. He's like, no, we're going, she's not gonna do anything. So I'm like, whoa. So at that point, I guess by the time we got out of, the distance where she couldn't see us anymore, his phone starts ringing. And he says, it's her. I know on, I think 2 different occasions. He didn't answer. We get out to dinner, we have dinner, then we get home. So I change, he comes in, he says, you might want to put your boots and your coat back on. So I said, why? He says, she's flattened all my tires on my car. So I said, well, did you call the police? He said, yeah. He said, but that's not the worst part of it. She's damaged your car. Then she's like, do you know who I am? My name is Jackie. I've been his girlfriend for 10 years. So I said, my name is Pam. Well, how long have you been seeing Mr. Lunningham? 2.5 years, off and on. She's like, well, I'm gonna just tell you, you might want to leave because this isn't going to end well.
Did you take her advice?
Plaintiff Pam Lynham-Dantzler says after she and the defendant realized they were dating the same man, the defendant keyed her car and flattened all of her tires.
Let me allow her to give some background.
Okay, Your Honor, I met the plaintiff on March the 7th. I went to our boyfriend's house. And when I get there, I went up to his house, I knocked on the door, which everybody goes into his house through the back. So I go to the back, I knock on the door, and he comes to the door in his underwear. And I'm like, we need to talk. He was like, no, I don't have time for this right now. I said, yeah, we need some closure here because this has gone on long enough, this back and forth. We're on 1 minute, we're off 1 minute, and I just wanted to end it. I don't want to do this over the phone. We've been together too long for this. So he's like, I don't have time for this. So I'm like, okay. So I go back to my car, and then she pulls up behind me. I was not in front of his driveway. I was on the street. She pulls up behind me. I get out of my vehicle, and I asked her, what's your name? And she said, Pam. And I said, are you dating him? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, well, how long you been dating him? She goes, for 2.5 years. I said, yeah, well, I've been dating him for 10 years. So now we're both walking to the back of the house. So I walk up to the stairs, I knock on the door. He comes to the door totally shocked. Both of us are standing there now. And I'm like, what's going on here? Let's talk. So I try to go into the house and he won't let me in the house. And then he said, you need to leave. I'm going to call the police on you. And I did say, well, call the police, we need to end this. And so she's standing there on the landing, and then she says, well, maybe I should go in. So I moved aside. I said, no, you're not going to go in. So he calls the police. So then I go back to my vehicle, and I'm sitting there, and then they both come out of the house. He comes out, goes to his truck, which was on the street. The police came, and he asked me, was I okay? And I told him, yes, I was. Mm-hmm. And then he said, well, he wants you to leave, so you need to go. So I pulled off.
Mm-hmm. That's it?
That's it.
No circling back?
No.
Okay. You never had any more contact with the police?
No.
And they didn't tell you anything, and you didn't circle back?
No.
All right, and you never went back to the house?
No.
All right, good enough. And you say, indeed, when you came out, the car was damaged. Did you go to the police?
I do have my police report, which states that she did the U-turn and everything. There's 2, one from...
Police observed her?
Yeah.
Let's see. I know you said it, but now you're giving me independent evidence that the police say you did it. which of course you deny. Go ahead.
And then I also have my photos of my car, the damages to my car.
Ma'am, they say they even instructed you not to follow him. Go ahead. You say you never had any more contact with the police. They say, I observed Stinson turn around and begin going northbound behind him. I then stopped to prevent her, just like she discussed. The police had to prevent you. Go ahead, everything that she says. Mm-hmm.
Then I also have my pictures of my car, the damages that she did to my car. And I do have estimates, Your Honor. She flattened all my tires. She keyed my car from one side down the back and up the other side, Your Honor. She did more damage to my car than she did to his.
Okay, and did you all pursue charges or for malicious destruction of property or what?
Yeah, I went down to the courthouse and I did get an emergency stalking order, okay? And then...
and you have estimates there?
I do, Your Honor.
And what happened with the stalking? This was the first time. Usually stalking requires there to be a second.
Yeah, I did. I put in emergency stalking order, and then we went back and we had one put in order, which has since been vacated because they said stalking constitutes more than one occurrence.
You should have gotten a restraining order.
Exactly, and I didn't know that, Your Honor.
All right.
Exactly.
So she only came that first time.
Right.
The second time, she just came and destroyed property.
Right.
She didn't come and stalk you. She just came to destroy some property, you allege.
Right.
All right, and so it was vacated correctly.
So I changed. He comes in, he says, you might want to put your boots and your coat back on. So I said, why? He says, she's flattened all my tires on my car. So I said, well, did you call the police? He said, yeah. He said, but that's not the worst part of it. She's damaged your car.
Plaintiff Pam Lynham-Dantzler says after she and the defendant realized they were dating the same man, the defendant keyed her car and flattened all of her tires.
And ma'am, you say, I mean, there's no sense in going much further. You say you left, right? After
I did leave,
police
Your Honor.
told
I
you to
had
leave.
no other contact with the police.
All right, okay. And so that would mean that both the police are lying on you, and that is a major coincidence that after you came to the house highly upset, coincidentally, within a couple of hours, both his car and her car were damaged.
Your Honor, I do want you to hear something, Your Honor, because it's really important.
What's that?
It's just the voicemails.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay.
You probably should come back to your house because I'm finna it up. I just bust all your windows in her car, and I'm finna bust all yours.
When was that? The same night?
That was the same night.
Ma'am, did you do that?
I called him.
Huh? You left that message?
Yes, I called him and left him a message.
That you were going to destroy their cars, and then
No, I didn't say.
That's what I just heard you say. You say you're going to bust out the windows of both cars, and then coincidentally, once again, another coincidence, their cars were damaged within the same time frame that you threatened to do so, that you lied about the police, or the police are lying on you. Have a good day. Judgment for the plaintiff. You've proven your case.
You got him, you can have him. Because he's really not
stop
worth
coming
it.
to
If
Joliet.
he cheated on me,
Stop
he
coming
would,
to Joliet.
Honey, I come through Joliet every day.
Down my
I
dead-end
have
street?
to come through
You coming past my
Joliet.
house on a dead-end street?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, I got pictures of you, Jackie.
I don't know what you're
Thank
talking
you.
about.
Thank
He's
you.
yours.
Thank you.